I'm Roger White, and I am an author of Technofiction. Technofiction is a kind of science fiction where good science is just as important as good characters and a good story. And I have written things like The Honeycomb Comet and Tips for Tailoring Space-Time Fabric. And these are technofiction stories. Once again, the thing that makes technofiction different and hopefully interesting to you as a reader is how important the science is. These explore new science. To me, as a reader of science fiction, I have really enjoyed science fiction where a new concept is discussed and what is it going to do for us as human beings. I like that. And as I've been writing, I have found that what I tend to do is I write first about a science concept. I explore the concept in my mind, and once I have written about that, then I can structure a story about it. And this, what I have here in Science and Insight, is to help you as a science fiction writer. If you want to write technofiction, if you want to write science fiction where the science is really important, the goal of this book is to give you a feel for that. So what you're going to find in here are essays about science, and from those, then you can write some interesting technofiction style stories. So for instance, one of the essays in here covers space travel, and it covers space travel slower than light. In other words, if you don't have a warp drive, how are humans going to travel through space if they don't have a warp drive? And so I talk about constant acceleration propulsion. And constant acceleration means you turn the rocket engine on and you go faster and faster and faster and faster until you're halfway there. Then you turn around and you brake and you go slower and slower and slower and slower until you stop when you get at your destination. Now, sounds simple enough, but it turns out it's a little difficult. And what gets really fun is if you're going to a star, you get to travel at close to the speed of light. And that means your time on the spaceship and the time of the person watching you on the planet aren't the same anymore. It's very different. And what difference does this make? It makes a lot of difference, and that's what's in Science and Insight. Okay? That's an example. Now, another topic that I cover in Science and Insight is multidimensional creatures. We live in a 3D world. What if a 4D creature wants to come and visit? What if the 4D creature says, "Hi, I'm visiting"? What is it going to be like? How is it going to happen? And it's not easy. Now, the example I use is comparing a human being to a cartoon. We're 3D, and a cartoon is 2D. How do we communicate with a cartoon? Yeah, well, okay. And we can't stick our head in it. That doesn't really work very well. So the way you have to communicate with them is you have to draw part of the cartoon. Okay? So these are the kinds, this kind of concept that I think about, and I'm helping you as a writer to say, oh, here are some very interesting concepts. And once you have sort of explored those concepts, then you can write very interesting science fiction. Interesting in the sense that it's going to cover something new. And yeah, I want to read it. I want you to come up with something new, and I want to read it. So keep an eye out for this. Science and Insight for science fiction writers. Take a look, see if it helps you make some good technofiction.